adverb clauses, and complex sentences. In our previous video, we have learned about the simple and compound sentences. Simple sentence is one that has one subject and a verb, while the compound sentences has two independent clauses. Yusuf was not the genius, a comma, a conjunction, and another independent clause, he won title. Let's talk about the complex one. It has one independent clause, I had left my office, and one dependent clause, when she reached there. If you only read this sentence, when she reached there, you won't get any idea. When she reached there, what? So this is dependent clause and this is independent clause. Now let's take some examples. She returned to the computer after she noticed it was damaged. If we only take this example, after she noticed it was damaged, so this doesn't seem to be a completed sentence. So this is dependent and the first one is independent. She returned to the computer is a completed sentence. If we reverse its order, after she noticed it was damaged, she returned to the computer. It means you are placing independent clause first, then placing a comma and dependent clause later. Another example, he was still very unhappy, though he was very rich. You can translate it like, though he was very rich, he was still very unhappy. So in the latter example, though he was very rich is starting with an independent clause and the latter one is independent clause. Please note, the dependent clause start with an adverb. This particular verb is called the adverb clause connector. It's also presented here. These both the sentences means equal and they are right. You can write these both sentences in both the manners. Independent clause first and dependent clause later. Dependent clause first and independent clause later. Let's take the third example. I heated it in the microwave because my coffee was too cold. The first one, I heated it in the microwave, is independent clause, while the second one, because my coffee was too cold, is dependent clause. These both clauses are connected using adverb because. If you place this adverb clause in start of the sentence, then you have to write the dependent clause in start and use a comma to make it more appropriate and grammatically and correct. In this example, the dependent clause is after she noticed it was damaged. And the word is starting with the word after, it's called the adverb clause connector. In this example, because my coffee was too cold, I heated it in the microwave. This sentence starts with an adverb clause connector. And this first part is the dependent clause. Adverb clause connector. Let's take the third example. Though he was very rich, he was still very unhappy. The first part is the dependent clause, and the first word of this first part is called the adverb clause connector. There are some more examples. She returned the computer after she noticed it was damaged. After she noticed it was damaged, she returned the computer. I heated it in the microwave because my coffee was too cold. Did you notice there is no comma in the first sentence? He was still very unhappy, though he was very rich. There is still no comma in the first sentence. These are the some examples of adverb clause connectors. Now check your understanding. Have a pen and a paper and write down where the comma should go in these complex sentences and what are the independent clauses here and what are the dependent clauses. Also jot down what are the adverb clause connectors here. Let's pause the video and do the exercise. So here should be the answers. When the cost goes up, customers buy less clothing. Customers buy less clothing is independent clause because it's completed in itself. When the cost goes up is not a completed sentence. Also, it starts with an adverb clause connector when, so there should be a comma after the word up here. In the next sentence, as she was bright and ambitious, she became manager in no time. In this sentence, she became manager in no time is the independent clause because it's completed in itself. And this part of the sentence, as she was bright and ambitious, this is an dependent clause. It starts with an adverb clause connector as, so it should have a comma after it. You can always find beauty wherever you go. In this sentence, wherever is the adverb clause connector, you go is the dependent clause, and you can always find beauty is the independent clause. So in the order where you first find independent clause, then some adverb clause connector, then some dependent clause, you don't have to write a comma. Let's review that. Don't use a comma if dependent clause comes after independent clause. Use a comma when it's vice versa.